Welcome back to our ongoing deep dive into Lily's Boy by Somewhere Sword. Y'all, this chapter, it gets you right in the feels. So, chapter 4 expands on the emotional and political foundation of this story, diving headfirst into heir culture, legacy, grief, and evolving connections. It's a chapter where every interaction has meaning, where Harry's transformation, it starts picking up some real momentum. So we start off with Harry and Neville, and Harry's friendship with Neville is continuing to evolve, but it's not just about friendship, right? Neville is becoming Harry's guide into this nuanced world of pure blood heir politics. Through him, Harry begins to understand legacy not just as a history, but as a responsibility. When Harry meets Susan Bones and Hannah Abbott and they greet him as an heir with the well met, their traditional rituals, and Harry panics. There is something that kind of clicks, but first he panics. Like, please don't tell Dumbledore. Please don't tell anybody, but especially not Dumbledore, right? We get this line that I think is perfect. Dumbledore holds too many seats that aren't rightfully his, Susan says darkly. A knowing glint in her eyes. Don't worry, Harry. Your secret's safe with us. Ooh. So, Harry's no longer just Harry, right? He's being acknowledged by his peers who understand the weight of the titles, like Heir Potter. It is subtle, but the cultural recognition kind of marks a turning point. Harry even recognizes, with Neville talking to him about the other heirs in the school, Neville mentions that even Malfoy is not as bad with him as he is with the rest of the Gryffindors. Though this year he only really seems to be after Ron. And Harry noticed that too. Malfoy barely said anything to Harry unless Ron started the fight. Instead, Malfoy's taken to giving Harry calculated looks from across the classroom. Like, he couldn't quite figure him out. Like something's up, but I don't know. So, through Neville's lessons and offhand observations, we begin to see how the wizarding world is built, not just on magic, but by family alliances and old grudges. Laws aren't passed in a vacuum. Everything is shaped by reputation, debt, and overall influence. Meanwhile, while Harry's magical strength is growing, like Gorak warned, with the block removed, he's more powerful than even he anticipated. His performance in class becomes a metaphor for awakening, not just magically, but emotionally and politically. He is stepping into that new identity, one spell at a time. We move into a quieter part of the chapter. Harry runs into Draco Malfoy on one of his nightly walks. What could have been a repeat of childish insults actually becomes something else entirely. Harry uses the formal well-met heir Malfoy greeting. Draco responds in kind.
Malfoy stared, blinking incredulously. "The rumors are true, then," he murmured. Ever so slowly, inch by inch, the Malfoy heir sank into a similar bow, though he was hampered slightly by his arm in a sling. Well met, Heir Potter. He straightened up. They stared at each other some more, neither sure what the next step was. Harry had gone and thrown off the ribbon of their usual interactions. His hair black too, he threw out impulsively. Not sure why he was telling Malfoy of all people. The blonde's eyes widened a fraction. How? Oh, of bloody course, he muttered, shaking his head. Heir Potter black. I should have known.
So whatever Draco has had against Harry and Harry's had against Draco, this is a meeting point for them. This is a level playing field, kind of. Okay? That mutual recognition shifts their dynamics. Their banner still has bite, but there's something new underneath: curiosity, subtle admiration, and even respect. Not that they're friends, okay? The friendship's not there yet, but it's no longer enmity. And Harry walks away feeling better than he expected from that conversation. Now, the emotional peak of this chapter begins when Harry, because he doesn't have the signed permission slip, he can't go to Hogsmeade. And he's like, yeah, it's fine, y'all go, bye. And he actually does something that I always wondered about, because he didn't seek information about his parents. He only got what he got from other people. This Harry is different. He's seeking information. He wants to know more about where he comes from, who he comes from. And he decides to research the past. What he finds in the library: yearbook entries of his parents, of Lupin, Sirius. It hits hard. It's the first time Harry connects the idea of Lupin as a professor to Lupin as the man his parents knew, or who knew his parents. This gives him a connection, right? A lifeline, if you will. And this realization is overwhelming, right? Harry seeks out Lupin. And what follows is one of the most tender and painful conversations we've had so far. Lupin opens up and even calls Harry his cub. Now, I love when a fic gives pet names to Harry, especially if it is Lupin calling him cub, and with Sirius and pup. Like, these are just, they build that sense of belonging and lovingness and that parental figure. So offering that connection and care where there's been nothing but silence so far in Harry's life. What makes this scene so powerful is its emotional honesty. Okay? Lupin doesn't defend the past. He doesn't excuse Dumbledore. He just speaks from grief, from longing. And Harry, though still wounded, he does say yes to Lupin's request of, can we be friends?
I'm always happy to talk to you about your parents. I'm sorry I didn't sooner, but I thought someone already had. I assumed you'd chosen to have nothing to do with me. He gave a small, self-deprecating shrug. Since that's not the case, you used to call me Uncle Remus once, Harry. I'm not asking you to do so again, but perhaps we could be friends.
It's not about mentorship. This is the start of a chosen family, and that theme of found family, an intentional connection, and it pulses through this whole story. So even as Harry finds comfort in Lupin, The specter of Sirius still looms larger than ever. Learning that Sirius was his godfather and James' best friend reframes the betrayal completely. It's not just about danger anymore. It is about the destruction of trust. He feels that his parents trusted Sirius to keep them all safe, and Sirius has betrayed that trust in a monumental way. When Sirius breaks into the castle, Harry's fear isn't just physical, it's psychological. And Snape's suspicion of Lupin only deepens the tension. Their argument is sharp, it's personal, and so loaded with history. The pain there. Part of it that really gets to me is Remus says, "You can trust me, Severus." And Severus responds with a scowl, "We've both been wrong about that before." There's something there. And Remus even reflects that he should go tell the headmaster about Sirius's animagus form, about the secret passages he could be using to get in and out of the school. And if he were a better man, he'd have told him weeks ago. But he isn't a better man. He's a guilty, desperate, lonely man who still couldn't believe after 12 years that one of his packmates could do something so awful against another. And he can't fathom how Sirius could be out for the blood of a child he had loved so dearly and doted on, and insisting that the child was basically his since he was never going to have kids of his own. He was, for all intents and purposes, the perfect godfather. And Remus's heart is just, it's torn into pieces. He can hear his wolf howling angrily, demanding justice, demanding an explanation. And he also wonders that if he didn't have his wolf, if maybe Lily and James might have trusted him to begin with. Maybe they would still be alive. It is so gut-wrenching. There's so much to unpack in the idea of what could have changed, what could have been different. And it's something that's going to move forward throughout the chapters coming. This chapter is so rich with interwoven themes, secrets from the past, from friends, from teachers, identity as an heir, a son, and as a strategist, as well as connection, not found through obligation, but through mutual trust. Even small gestures, like Neville gifting Harry a miniature sod bonfire, reinforce the idea that Harry is slowly, quietly building his own circle, a new family made of allies, not just blood. So, chapter 4 is beautifully balanced, politically world building, and emotional catharsis all in one. We see Harry grieving, learning, connecting, and planning. The shadows of the past are darker than ever, but so are the sparks of loyalty lighting the path forward. If this chapter hit you like it hit me, like the night bus, be sure to like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. How did you feel about Lupin's confession? What do you think of Harry and Draco's new dynamic? In the next episode, we're going to explore Chapter 5, where secrets start unraveling and Hogwarts becomes even more dangerous, as if it's ever been safe. Until our next meeting, may your magic serve you well.